Good morning and a very warm welcome to all our viewers on Doordarshan Sports as we bring you this live program in the morning called Sports Cafe. I'm your host Arjun, and with me in the studio is Anupam Gulati, eminent sports expert, broadcaster, administrator and commentator in sports. Anupam, a very warm welcome to you in the program.
Thank you very much, Arjun, and good morning.
Good morning. And our program is divided into two segments. The first segment is a review of the press covering the different sporting events across the world and in India. And the second segment is on aerobics. We will be discussing about fitness and how to improve our health. Let's now move on to our first segment, which is a press review. Well, the Hindustan Times is covering on Parthiv Patel coming into the side in place of Wriddhiman Saha into the test squad. 3 test matches remaining in the 5 test match series against England. And in the second headline, we have the Indian women's cricket team punished by the ICC for not playing against Pakistan in Pakistan. 3 matches not played, and as a result, the automatic qualification is lost for India. The other being that the Indian men's hockey team losing 2-3 to Australia in hockey, but on the flip side, the women's team defeating Australia 1-0. And then we have Saina Nehwal advancing in the Hong Kong Open Super Series badminton. PV Sindhu also making it to the next round. And let's not forget the men who have also qualified, 3 of them excluding Sai Praneeth. So that is the newspaper headlines as far as today's sporting events are concerned. We will discuss that with Anupam Gulati. Anupam, Parthiv Patel making it to the squad along with Bhuvaneshwar Kumar. So non-performers being left out, either they're not performing or they're injured. What does this mean for the Indian squad going into the third test match?
Well, the third test match begins on the 26th at Mohali, and it is indeed quite a welcome and very surprising in certain quarters that we've seen Parthiv Patel come back after a gap of 8 years into the national test team. Don't forget, it was way back in Sri Lanka where he played his last test match in 2008. Of course, he played the shorter form thereafter, but talking specifically of test cricket, well, the 31-year-old, I think, must be really rubbing his hands in glee that he's got a look in to come back into the test playing 11. And it is unfortunate for Wriddhiman Saha, who's on the injured list, to be skipping out the third test match. We do not know whether he will be there in subsequent test matches. Remember, this is a 5 test match affair, and it will entirely depend now on how the southpaw, which is Parthiv Patel, performs with both as a keeper behind the stumps and as a left-hand batsman, perhaps in somewhere in the middle order. And he would be very confident. I'm sure the selectors would have really scratched their heads and deliberated as to who to take in place of Saha. And well, Oja also has been on the injured list. They probably thought that the youngster from Delhi, Rishabh Pant, a little too early to give him a seasoning of the big wood. So I would imagine that it's old experience which has counted in favor of Patel, and also the fact that he's captaining Gujarat. He's been amongst the runs in this Ranji season, and he's got that never say die attitude. He's always a bouncy fellow, but it'll all depend as to how he's going to keep wickets when he faces the spin of chaps like Ashwin, who are great tweakers and great spinners of the ball. So it'll entirely depend on what his performance in Mohali is going to be.
Well, we've seen his performance in the 2016-17 season for the Dulip Trophy and the Ranji Trophy. He scored a century in the Ranji Trophy matches, 20 test matches in all, 450s, and his performance behind the stumps has not always been consistent. 41 catches and 8 stumping. So you have keeping to the spinners who were responsible for our victory in the second test match. How match ready is he right now?
He is, because he's been captaining the team, and he was called to Mohali, and he had to travel by road. There were no air connections, changing 2 flights to get there when he was told by Devang Gandhi that, hey buddy, get ready, pad up, and you're there in Mohali. So it came as a huge surprise for him, I'm sure, because nobody knew that Saha is going to be, with that strained thigh muscle. So, but at the same time, I'd say, now you're talking of keeping. Well, I think his, they've also, the selectors also kept in mind that he's a left-hander. And to see the spin attack of the Englishman, I think, a left-hander down in the middle is very, very important to have. And he's been in the nick of runs. But as I said, it will all come to naught if his wicket keeping is not going to be, that class that is expected of an Indian keeper or a stumper. And particularly, as I said, with Ashwin around, it's not going to be easy. Even though the two of them have played together, he's kept for Ashwin when when playing for Chennai Super Kings together.
Well, let's now move on to our second headline story, which is on the Indian women cricket team being punished by the ICC for not playing against Pakistan. And points have been docked, which means Indian women's cricket team will not automatically qualify for the 2017 World Cup. Anupam, that should make it more difficult for the women's side. We know the West Indies is a top team. They won the T20 series 3-0 yesterday. That was what we discussed in the program. But now it would be an uphill task for the Indian women's side.
Yes, absolutely. Otherwise, come to think of it, they had to play Pakistan 3 times. That's why they've been docked the 6 points there. But those matches were at home for Pakistan. And for obvious reasons, India decided not to travel there. And they were not perhaps expecting such a thing to come in from the ICC, but the technical committee has gone by the book. And and incidentally, India is to play Pakistan later this month again, though that's at a neutral venue in the Women's Asia Cricket Cup. So I would imagine that, I don't know whether that will be played or not. I should imagine that will be played, but that has nothing to do for the Women's World Cup. But you're absolutely right, Arjun, that India will have an uphill task. I have no doubt that they will put in their best. Only the top a few teams qualify, make direct qualifications. The others have to go through the grind, and that much more difficult for them. And Pakistan will be very happy that they've got those points. Otherwise, I wouldn't have imagined Pakistan beating this Indian team. Is a pretty strong team.
So from cricket to women's cricket, we now move on to hockey, where the Indian men's team lost 2-3 to Australia in Australia itself. But the women's side, they came up with a win against Australia 1-0. So a positive result for the national team. We're seeing the coverage across newspapers. Times of India, Dainik Bhaskar congratulating the side for winning against Australia. And I believe it is the first win against Australia when it comes to the women's competition. The Navbharat Times also covering it that India had won 1-0 against Australia. And we're also seeing coverage in the Hindustan. Bharatiya Mahila team Jeeti, Purush Hare. So for a change, the women's side really doing well here. The Dainik Jagran also covering it. So do tell us about the women's side. I know we are watching them for the qualification for the Olympics, and then we saw the men's performance as well, which really improved, I must say, even though they did not go ahead. But the women winning against Australia 1-0.
Arjun, absolutely right. This is the first victory, as you mentioned correctly. And, if you just throw back a little bit, you talked of the improvement. Just go back to the Rio Olympics. Out of 12, India were 12 in the women's hockey. They lost to Australia 6-1, right? Now they're playing in Melbourne in the first of the 3 test match series. And they beat them 1-0 against all odds. I think it's a great improvement, but you still got 2 more test matches. But let's not take it away from the girls. They deserve praise. They deserve a pat on their back, a first time ever. And I tell you, the Australians must be absolutely, down and out, down under. And with this kind of a result, they must have fancied an easy victory against the Indians. But I think the girls have held their heads very high.
Well, Anupam, you've had a long relationship with hockey. I know that you are being a commentator and anchor with Doordarshan for a long period of time. But with hockey, you've also acted as an administrator and a manager. So what do you make of the coaching staff as far as women's hockey is concerned and their captain? Because ultimately she has to lead the side against a tough team where results before have not been positive.
Well, there have been changes in the team. This team for the first time is being led by Rani, the girl who people would call Rani Rampal also, because her father's name is Rampal. She is from Haryana. Bulk of the team is actually from there and from the Indian Railways. So Shahabad is the place where the nursery women's hockey, where it really has developed. Talking of the coaching staff, Neil Hoggood is been the coach for this is his second spell with the Indian women's team. He had left in the middle to go to Malaysia but returned, and I understand his contract comes to an end later this year. And he has done very well with the girls and the support staff. C.R. Kumar has been with the women team for a long time, and the other supports, the scientific support staff is all there. I think they will end off this year in a healthy note. I am not very sure whether Australia will lose the next matches or draw them, we don't know. But I think the very fact that the Indian women's hockey team has also for the first time won the Asian Champions Trophy very recently in Singapore. The men won it in Kuantan in Malaysia, the women followed it up to get a unique double, and I think it augurs well for the Indian women. Well done, I would say. First qualifying for the Olympic Games, then winning the Asian Continental Championship, and now beating Australia, who are ranked number 4 in the world, India number 12. So I think it augurs very well for them. They've got a very steady forward line with Rani leading. You've got Vandana Kataria up front as well. They are very strong. And I must mention that the Indian women team has 2 excellent goalkeepers. There has been Savita Punia, who's been hogging the limelight in the recent past. But this girl who played in her place, both of them are there. This girl, Rajni Etimarpu, she comes from Tirupati. So she's been around for a long time as well. And now there's healthy competition between the 2 goalkeepers. And they are both equally good. And she came up with a stellar performance yesterday when they played in Melbourne, that is Rajni.
So there's strong competition within the team, a good bench strength, and clearly the performance against international sides abroad would be quite good as well. We're seeing that in the results right now. Let's now look at the women's boxing, the National Boxing Championship that is being held in Haridwar across 6 weight categories, and we have some results there with Sarjubala Devi in the 48 kilogram weight category in the finals, and Nirja bagging the bronze medal in her weight category. Anupam.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they are accomplished boxers, there's no doubt about it, and boxing, women's boxing has had a great fillip with the emergence of Mary Kom. She's been an idol and an inspiration to so many of these young women boxers. Earlier, what would happen is, if somebody's daughter was very keen to go into the boxing ring, the parents would frown and say, "Are you mad? What are you trying to do?" But now those inhibitions seem to have been thrown to the wind, Arjun, and some of the Indian boxers with the right amount of scientific training have done very well, like the men boxers.
So just looking at the boxing across 6 weight categories, how good are they at the international level? We know Mary Kom has been a success in the past. Pinky Jhangra has been a very strong competition in her weight category. How competitive are they in the international events?
Well, we've seen the Indian women take part in the Asian Games, in the Olympic Games. In the Olympics, of course, you got only 4 weight categories. And they didn't do too well in the last games. But at the Asian level, yes. And then you had World Championships. Of course, Mary Kom has called it a day. She's become a member of parliament as well. But I think the Indian women, now that they've got the federation back, it was not there. They were suspended by the AIBA, which is the world body. So they were not around. Now with the new setup, it'll be good to see these nationals in Haridwar for the women, men separately. I'm sure with the vibrancy coming back into the federation, I see no reason in the time to come, because they've been off color, there's been no national championship, So you cannot spot out the talents, etc. There are so many of these budding boxers.
Plus, the performance in the Olympics has not been positive.
It's not been positive, that's right. And I would imagine time will tell. And it augurs well, Arjun, for boxing as a sport in India, whether it's men or women. So I'm sure the men's nationals will also be coming up, and there'll be other tournaments. The Indian teams will be traveling overseas, and that's where you get the vital international experience and exposure. You get that, you can only get better and better.
Well, speaking of getting better and better, badminton has really seen an upside with PV Sindhu winning the silver medal at the Rio Olympics, and then following that up with the China Open victory against a Chinese opponent. Now you have both Saina Nehwal, PV Sindhu and our men's singles competing at the Hong Kong Super Series, where 3 men and both PV Sindhu and Saina Nehwal advancing to the next round. Saina Nehwal had a bit of a scare, losing the first game in a match, but then coming back strongly to win the remaining 2. So both PV Sindhu and Nehwal are into the next round. How do you view their prospects in this Hong Kong Super Series?
Every tournament is different. We've seen, you spoke about the Chinese Open. The reigning champion before Sindhu was Nehwal, and she had been runner-up. She had won in 2013. So as far as Sindhu is concerned, she'd never won one of these major tournaments. So I think that victory in the China Open would have given her a huge fillip as she came down to Hong Kong. She will be regarded as one of the top favorites. It will depend entirely on Saina Nehwal, her fitness levels. Don't forget, she had that big the surgery and the rehab to come back and play in the China Open. And as you said, she had lost the first game in her opening round.
Plus, the cast was also advertised across the newspapers.
That's right.
Foot injury,
that's right.
Just to justify her non-playing.
It's a psychological game now between the two of them. Don't forget, they were both from Hyderabad, training at Gopi Chand's academy till Nehwal decided to call it a day and shift to Bangalore under the tutelage of Vimal Kumar, right? So now there is pressure on Nehwal, as it is after making her exit from the Olympics and the silver going to her competitor. And mind you, the two of them have only played one match, which Saina Nehwal has beaten Sindhu in the past, if you see the records. So there will be, while Sindhu will be, with all her bubble and enthusiasm up there on the bounce, it is Saina who needs to catch up and hold her composure, not get bothered by these kind of external pressures. So it will be interesting to see, but it could be anybody's tournament. After all, don't forget the Chinese are there, and don't forget the Spaniard, Carolina Marin is there as well. So it will not be
the gold medalist at the Rio Olympics.
Yeah.
Speaking about the women's healthy competition, I must say,
Yeah.
because they're also playing against each other, at least as far as the practice games are
Right.
concerned.
Right.
And that always helps. Good pairing helps
Right.
you compete at the international level.
Right.
The men's singles haven't really got that kind of press coverage because their success has been relatively low. 3 men, HS Pranoy, Sameer Verma and Ajay Jairam, have progressed. What are their prospects briefly?
Very difficult to see what their opposition in the upper rounds is going to be. And let's not forget that none of the 3 are in the top 10 in the world rankings. And whatever they can achieve, if there's an upset here or there, it will be good for them. But I wouldn't really read too much into them as being prospective winners of the Hong Kong Open.
Well, Anupam, thank you so much. We are now going to progress to our next segment of Sports Cafe, where we will show you aerobics and get your day off to an exciting and healthy start. So let's now move on to our aerobics segment.
Hello viewers, in this segment I'm going to take ball Pilates workout. Pilates, as you know, focuses on art of breathing. So every exercise I do would focus a lot on where to inhale, where to exhale, and we would be doing all the moves, all the exercise with this Swiss ball. It's called gym ball or Swiss ball or exercise ball, and if you know, it can withstand about 600 pounds of weight. It's been proven, tested to do that. And I'm going to take ball Pilates now. We're warming up by simply lightly bouncing on it. Our knees are directly over the toes. They're aligned. Every time I exhale, I'll suck my navel in so that the spine is straight, my core muscles, the core board is stabilized, transverse abdominis comes in action. Bounce. Little pelvic tilt that I'm going to do is hold it there, very light move, just tuck the pelvis down under, neutral, and take it back. I'll show you how it goes. This is a neutral, tuck it down under, the knees do not move, neutral again, tuck it back. Again, neutral, tuck it, neutral again, and back. Warming up the pelvic girdle, and back. Now inhale up, exhale, back to the center, exhale, back to the center. Now the more advanced move is getting the feet closer. The beginners who are not very comfortable with the ball, they would automatically keep a wider grip so that they are comfortably sitting, balancing on the ball. The ball being unstable in nature, that's why it works the core muscles. Before engaging in any new activity, you must consult your physician or take the help of a trainer who would guide you properly for a workout. Again, center and center again. One more time, please. Center. Now I'm going for a saw. The move is called saw. You inhale up, stretch out one leg, exhale. Reach for the opposite, ankle the baby finger, and up. Again reverse, inhale, exhale, and inhale up. Exhale, inhale up, pull up the shoulder blades, the scapula behind you. I do not mean that you take the arms behind you, the arms stay in level, the scapulas are pulled back, adducted back. Again I go, straight, straight up, sit tall. Again, the movement is called saw. It's taken from a move in Pilates, again this is called saw. I'm twisting my spine, working on my lower back, also on my obliques here. And while doing this, straightening up one leg, my hamstrings are also getting stretched. And up. A mermaid stretch. Guys, are you there with me? Are you enjoying the workout? It's different. And you take a mermaid stretch to the side. And up. Again, sit tall, take it to the side. Let me see how you all are looking. Very nice, very nice. And again, going back to the center, again to the side. Stretching the side of your waist, yes, very good. And up, sit tall, yes. Shoulder blades relaxed. Knees straight over the toes, aligned. Yes, there you are. And bend. Bend. Very good. Without rolling the ball down under. And now we go down on the mat. Go down. We're starting with single leg circles. We lie down. Our legs are on the ball. Press them into it. Can you please be on that side and ball be on this side so that I can also see you? That's better. Looking good. I'm going for single leg circles. One leg is out. I'm going to draw a circle, stabilizing the ball on this leg. This leg is not going to move when I move. It's not this move. That's incorrect. Stabilizing my heel into the ball, I draw a circle, inhale for half, exhale, pull the navel into the spine. Nice, beautiful round circles. Again, and reverse. Feeling the stretch in your leg? Other side, reverse. Switch the leg. Draw a circle with your toe and reverse it. Again. One more. And now going to roll up. Pick up the ball. Fly down straight. Just take the ball overhead and bring it up. Just a preparation for a roll up. Just the way you do sit up, but it's a very controlled movement. Again, overhead, bring it up. Watch it now. Take it overhead. Just watch it. I inhale and exhale, and I sit tall, bend there, inhale, and go back one spine, one vertebra rolling at a time. Again. Now make sure your feet do not lift up when you lift up. If you do not have enough strength, you would be doing an incorrect move where your feet would also move up something like this, and then you would be able to lift up. That's incorrect, but which means your lower abs do not have enough strength to get up. Slowly, you will be getting that. Again, inhale. Sit tall. Inhale, roll down, one spine at a time, and go back. Let me watch you all doing it once for me. Again, inhale, exhale, and go back. Now inhale, go back and hold. Hold it here for 3, 2, 1, and down. Again, inhale, exhale, and roll up. Inhale, start moving back. Inhale, and hold it to your point of control. Stretch. You lie down. Take the legs out, feet joining each other, and bring the ball in closer to you. You're stretching your inner thigh muscles. Hold it there. Now press one heel into the ball and take the leg up. Without arching the back. At no point you should arch or hyperextend your back. And the other side. And down. Now, sideways we stretch. Take the ball to your side. To your side. Cross one leg in front. Take the arm overhead. Feel the stretch in your side. Again. And up. This time you can drop one knee which is close to the ball. Drop it down. Keep the hand there. Now stretch and up. T stretch because my body is forming a T. We have to do it on both the sides, but before that, I'll do a psoas stretch for the iliopsoas. Keep the ball there, and one leg goes in front, sit against the ball. My iliopsoas, which are the hip flexors, that's what is getting stretched. You do the stretch on both the sides, both the legs, and work on both the sides. Have a balanced body. Generally, we see our right side is stronger than the left. It's essential to work both the sides of the body. So this was our Pilates workout for today. Come and sit on the ball. This was our Pilates workout where we did all parts of our body, especially focusing on the art of breathing. I'll be seeing you next time. Till then, bye-bye.
Well, the last segment was on aerobics, the instructor going through the paces as opposed to the rhythmic aerobics that we are used to. Very important first thing in the morning to get your muscles stretched and toned. So that was our last segment on aerobics. It's time now to thank our guest expert Anupam Gulati for being with us on the program Sports Cafe and giving us his views on the sports coverage across newspapers. Thank you so much, Anupam.
Thank you very much, Arjun, for inviting me here.
Thank you. And that was Anupam Gulati, who is an eminent sports commentator and anchor with Doordarshan and across other news channels as well. He's also acted as an administrator and manager for different sporting federations. Well, it's time now for me to tell you which are our social media connects. Do connect with us on our social media websites to show us how we can improve and bring your views across for Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Well, that's all in this morning program of Sports Cafe. I hope you enjoyed the press review and our segment on aerobics. Do join us tomorrow, same time, 9 o'clock in the morning, and we'll sign off at 9:30 in the morning. Till then, it's namaskar and goodbye.